But now it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Stephen Maijoor, a good supporter of this conference for many years in various guises, now as the executive board member of the Dutch Central Bank and the chairman of Supervision, who will return to the question of cybersecurity in a geopolitical context. And Stephen is happy to take 1 or 2 questions at the end. So have your thoughts ready, and staff, have your microphones ready. But with that, I pass over to Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick, and indeed, it's good to hear that you give a little task to the audience. We're getting a bit late in the day, so let's try to keep it indeed attractive. On December 12th, 2023, Kyivstar, Ukraine's largest telecom provider, suffered a cyber attack that disrupted services for millions of users. The attack, attributed to the state Russian-sponsored group Sendwarm, was one of the biggest cyber incidents in Ukraine since the onset of the Russian invasion. The hackers had infiltrated Kyivstar's infrastructures months earlier. They deployed malware that erased thousands of virtual servers and personal computers, crippling the company's network for managing communication services. The attack had several immediate effects. First of all, approximately half of Kyivstar's network was disabled, leaving millions without mobile and internet connections. But the damage wasn't limited to the telecom sector. The attack also disrupted banking operations, payment processing, and online banking services. Some ATMs and point-of-sale terminals didn't work. Financial transactions were in disarray across the country. Amazingly, Ukrainians were quickly able to restore services. Over the past 3 years, they've become quite proficient in dealing with large-scale disruption. Many critical processes in Ukraine are equipped with redundancy services. Many people even have 2 SIM cards in their phones. That enabled the other Ukrainian telecom providers to circumvent the outage. Services at Kyivstar were gradually reinstated, with almost full restoration achieved 8 days after the attack. This episode raises some inconvenient questions. What if this would happen to us? What if a large-scale Russian or Chinese cyber attack is launched on the telecom sector of an EU member state? Would it be possible? How much damage could such an attack cause? Would it affect financial services? And would we be able to recover as quickly as the Ukrainians did? A few years ago, most people would have found these questions to be rather hypothetical, but today, unfortunately, they have become quite urgent. Geopolitical tensions have been rising for more than a decade, but over the past few years, they have really accelerated. Countries are rearming, and they are protecting their strategic economic infrastructures. They're imposing trade restrictions and sanctions on each other, and they are weaponizing access to international infrastructures and services. Needless to say, this is bad news for the world economy and the financial sector, and actually we've seen it also in a different form in the past days. But perhaps in no area is the geopolitical threat so real and acute as in the digital domain. Apart from the Kyivstar case, there are many other examples to back this up. In late 2023, a Russian hacker breached Microsoft's corporate network by exploiting a legacy account. As a result, the security and confidentiality of the email accounts of many organizations around the world were potentially compromised. Last year, the FBI discovered a dormant network of Chinese hackers in the United States that had compromised hundreds of routers and that was on standby to launch an attack it called on. And recently, Russian and Chinese vessels were suspected of damaging subsea data cables. Since state-sponsored cyber attacks are often very well concealed, we do not have reliable numbers on how often they occur. But anecdotal information from intelligence agencies, like the Dutch General Intelligence and Security Service, suggests their number is increasing. Traditionally, the financial sector has been an attractive target for cyber criminals with financial motives. But with the changing geopolitical climate, nation-state cyber attacks have become a very real possibility. Their main aim is to cause disruption and to steal sensitive information. Nation-state actors possess more resources, more sophistication, and more endurance than other hackers. And many sectors of the economy have become more vulnerable to large-scale disruption due to increased complexity and digitalization. This is certainly true of financial services, with their long outsourcing chains and their interconnectedness. And many financial firms depend on the same third-party service provider, so if one of these suppliers is attacked, large chunks of the financial sector may experience the knock-on effects. As we showed in our latest financial stability overview, a quarter, and I repeat, a quarter of all reported global cyber attacks can potentially affect the financial sector through a vital process run by a third party on which the financial system depends. So to answer the question I posed at the start, yes, I think a major state-sponsored cyber attack on the financial sector or one of its supporting sectors could happen. And frankly, I hope we would be able to recover as quickly as the Ukrainians did. That is not because financial institutions haven't prepared. Many financial institutions have taken big steps in recent years to boost their cyber resilience. I think it's fair to say that the financial industry is one of the better digitally defended sectors in the economy, and I think that is as it should be. But given the size and the urgency of the threat, we need to do even more to keep financial services safe. That is why cyber resilience will absolutely be a key focus area in our supervision of the financial industry in the coming years, both for the Nederlandse Bank and also for the ECB. Our aim is to make financial services safer against cyber threats, not only by increasing the resilience of the financial sector itself, but also by stepping up the robustness of the entire chain of ICT service providers. DORA gives us additional tools to accomplish this aim. And to start with DORA, threat-led penetration tests are mandatory for the largest financial institutions in Europe. In the Netherlands, we have been conducting these kinds of tests voluntarily for more than 8 years with very good results. And we're pleased that it's now becoming the norm at the European level. But DORA also imposes stricter requirements for managing cyber risks in outsourcing chains. For example, financial firms face stricter rules for conducting due diligence on potential ICT providers. And as a result, FinTechs may also experience more stringent due diligence from financial sector customers. And very importantly, under DORA, European supervisors can conduct inspections of critical third-party ICT service providers in tandem with national supervisory authorities. We expect big techs like Google and Microsoft to be placed under EU-wide supervision. And just as with the banks, we're going to test their readiness to detect and withstand cyber attacks. And despite all efforts, there's no such thing as perfect cybersecurity. It is therefore vital that financial institutions take measures to recover quickly after a cyber incident. This is crucial to ensure that services can continue and people don't lose trust in the financial firms or in the financial sector as a whole. The results of the ECB 2024 cyber stress test show that there is room for improvement on the recovery front. So it's a very good thing that DORA also imposes new requirements on institutions' continuity plans and backup policies. They need to develop a culture where cyber incidents are quickly detected and reported. They need to have their playbooks in place, and they need to have clearly defined management roles and responsibilities. These are key ingredients for an effective response after a cyber attack. An important principle of our supervision has always been that financial institutions are responsible for putting their own house in order. And that is also the case with cybersecurity. But if we only focus on individual institutions, we miss something. And as I mentioned, on a digital level, the financial sector is so interconnected and connected to other vital sectors of the economy as well, that some degree of overall coordination and coordination is necessary to arrive at an optimal level of resilience. Notably, recent assessments derived from nationwide contingency exercises in the Netherlands reveal various weaknesses. These weaknesses relate to the exchange of information between critical infrastructure providers, the distribution of roles and responsibilities, and the mobilization of scarce cybersecurity knowledge and expertise in the event of major cyber attacks. So the message here is we need to work together. Governments should take the lead to improve cross-sectoral cooperation and coordination. They must continue to conduct large-scale cyber drills and practice activating crisis plans. The insights gained should be used to enhance resilience. But there is also a role for financial supervisors like DNB. Under the new legislation, we do not only need to check whether financial firms are compliant, but we also have an obligation ourselves to look over the fence and cooperate closely with other sectors. DNB is putting this into practice by working with vital sectors that are most critical to the financial sector, such as energy and telecommunications. Within our mandate, we support these sectors with information, with cooperation, and with ethical hacking experience. To sum up, the threat of major disruptions to our financial system from nationwide cyber attacks has become more urgent. Financial firms and the entire outsourcing chain on which they depend therefore need to do whatever they can to further boost their cyber resilience, both in terms of detection and recovery. Cyber resilience is a top priority for European financial supervisors, and there are new European laws in place. And we're going to use these laws to make sure that financial institutions are under our supervision are as secure and well defended as possible. Enhancing resilience also means we need to work together. Governments, financial firms, supervisors, telecom, energy, and other vital players in the outsourcing chain. Because in cyberspace, we're all linked together. And after all, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for this very interesting speech. I want to see whether there might be one or two questions in the audience. Oh, there's one there from Jarkko.
Hi, good to see you, Stephen. Jarkko Syrjä from Nordea. We are the biggest Nordic bank. In early September, 3 days after the latest Swedish support package of Ukraine, started the strongest ever DDoS attack against the Nordic banks, including Nordea. So we were target for more than a month. Previously, the record was 2 days, and now we were under attack for more than a month. Service request 15 million per second. So some days our service were a bit slowed down, but we were well prepared. But this was really unprecedented and hugely also costly to the attacker. So, you know, it cost tens of millions of euros to the attacker already in energy. So, you know, you imagine this is a state actor. I think my question is, and I really much applaud what you were saying, that we need cooperation of all actors in the chain. It's not only financial supervisor, it's also the security authorities. I don't know if it's even NATO, but this is something that really it's an attack to the society and trying to really shake the basic elements and infrastructures of society. That's how we felt it, and therefore we really call on a European level action also, for next time when this is going to happen, because this is not the last time for sure. Thank you.
And maybe I can add, because, and that's pure, maybe I'm not sure about this coincidence, but Finland has been at the forefront of hybrid threats. So it goes beyond cyber threats. You already mentioned undersea cables, but it's basically this mixture of different forms of disruption. How do you look at that? Because it's not just cyber, it can be other forms of disruptions coming together.
Well, so first maybe on Jarkko, it was very good, and to some extent your examples more kind of, to some extent, maybe I regret that I didn't take that example. So I will do it in the next version of my speech, because I think it really underlines the points made. I think we always look with admiration to Finland, because we know, because of the closeness to Russia, there's been more focus on these type of issues. So we also need to learn from each other. I think as a micro-prudential supervisor, we tend to focus on the individual institution. Generally we take the line, you're responsible, you need to apply the laws and regulations, and we're always a little bit careful around cooperation with other financial institutions, cooperation with public institutions, because we're always a bit concerned as micro-supervisors that it may dilute the responsibility. First of all, is that you need to make sure that you have your own house in order. And I think we need to realize that, yes, individual institutions need to do their maximum in terms of preventing cyber attacks, and also when they're attacked that they recover, but also there's an element of working together, because this is you cannot solve this issue on your own. And on your point, I think this belongs to a broader issue that geopolitical tensions, competition between the bigger blocs in the globe can be done through cyber. It can be done through by using sanctions. It can be used by terrorists, and you can see that different measures are used for the geopolitical battlefield. Let's put it in that way.
Thank you. There's one more here.
Yes, thank you, Bridget Cosgrave from Soprasteria. Goedenavond, meneer. The European Commission has invested a great deal of resources and reputation in the creation of the ECCC, the European Cyber Security Competence Center that's been established in Bucharest. And in addition to that, they have sought to create cross-border cybersecurity SOCs, and the Dutch were very well placed to lead some of these. But there is a problem of trust with certain national actors in the European Union. How do you see that problem if we need to consolidate and bring our resources together? Is it still going to be a question that you have stronger trust in Finland, and so in that sense you can call on them? Or are we capable of bringing a pan-European solution to this challenge?
I think generally there are trust issues in this area, in the sense that individual institutions can also be reluctant, first of all, to share it at national level, because sometimes it can be seen as a weakness that you are attacked, or uncertainty around how well you're able to address the attack. I must say that in my personal interactions with the financial sector, there is sufficient conviction is that this needs to be done at sector level. Of course, it then can still be an issue when there's an individual attack, whether to share it with either the regulator or with other institutions in the sector. Therefore, it's so important that DORA gets into place, because that gives you the obligation to report. And I would say that in these this new geopolitical world is that, but I have a strong European background. We need to focus here on the European level. We need to do this together. You cannot do this just as one jurisdiction. I can see the point that there will be some trust issues that need to be overcome. But ultimately, I think the argument for a European level approach is so clear here that I would expect that that's going to be ultimately successful.
Thank you very much indeed, Stephen, as always. I knew you would create a bit of reaction before the coffee break. So thank you very much indeed for a very good speech. Okay, thank you.